we have to start off with the game of, the club football, pinnacle game of club football that will be taking place between Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. It's a team that's had two different journeys throughout the season, especially within domestic form. You have Real Madrid, at the top, winning, the La Liga, you know, getting comfortably, in through the group stages in the Champions League with 6 wins. Just a perfect season for them in general. Had a little bit of times where they had to struggle against City and a little bit against Leipzig at the end, but apart that, it had been smooth for them in this Champions League. And Dortmund, it's been very different. Number one, the season has been, not good by their standards, finishing 5th in Bundesliga. Only qualifying for next year's Champions League because of this new format, which allows this new added 5th place team in there. So, they have not been on the best form this season. Some of the players that they've had stepped up in the Champions League, especially in the knockout stages, that haven't really performed all season. Defensively, Hummels, Schlotterbeck, they were very, very key in the way that they defended against PSG. But throughout this season, it's been really rough for them defensively because, Schlotterbeck, he could be a little bit of a deer in the headlights. Matt Hummels doesn't really have the pace, especially nowadays, to play at that level consistently. And then fullbacks wise, it's been very up and down throughout the season. You bring in Matson on loan in that fullback position, that left-sided fullback position. A guy who wasn't playing at all for Chelsea, you bring him Borussia Dortmund, and he automatically gets put in the starting lineup. You also have Ryerson on the other side. Decent players, but players that could get cut out. And I don't want to get too much on the negatives of Borussia Dortmund. The season has not been the best by them, but they have reached the Champions League final by winning the group of death. In my opinion, that was the toughest group. When you see PSG, Newcastle, AC Milan, that's a tough group. And, there was times where they were really getting dominated by Atletico Madrid. The fact that they were able to move on, still astounds me to this day, but they were able to get it done. And against Borussia Dortmund, against PSG, as I said previously, they defended for their lives. They were very mature and they looked very experienced in the way that they defended. They took advantage of the opportunities that they came with Füllkrug and Hummels. In that first leg, they had a lot of opportunities. They played really, really well. One end-to-end was PSG. But in that second leg, just be defensive, be clinical, and they were able to get a breakthrough early in that second half that kind of eased the pressure off and allowed them to play with a more of a lower block. And whenever Matt Hummels and Schlotterbeck is not getting stretched, where they play where the Borussia Dortmund are able to play condense, and the fullbacks don't go attack as much, it plays to the strengths of Borussia Dortmund's defenders because of the fact that Hummels is not the most pace, and in transition, him and Schlotterbeck can get taken apart. But with the low block being able to be played, not many spaces, not many gaps, it really put Borussia Dortmund in a comfortable position to move on, and they were able to move on there. So getting back to the main point, two teams that are really coming from from different positions when it comes to form. Two teams that have one game to win a Champions League. So they'll both, love to be in this position if you asked them this at the beginning of the season. Now, as far as my keys to the game, I go through this scenario so many times in my head, and it's really a massive struggle for me to see any sort of way Real Madrid are not the champions, are not lifting up the trophy after the game. I'm just looking through scenarios in my head because, look, let's say Real Madrid can score early. Let's say Real Madrid were able to score early against Borussia Dortmund. well, then these Dortmund players, they're gonna have to push up forward. Ryerson and Madsen are gonna push up even higher, even more higher than they're used to. Even though they're both generally more attacking fullbacks, they're gonna start pushing up, and then you're gonna have Vinicius and Rodrigo going up against Hummels and Schlotterbeck. I just think that's a recipe for murder, and I could see that going horribly, horribly wrong very, very quickly. And that's if Real Madrid score early. And then if Borussia Dortmund, are able to score early, and Real Madrid start playing more of the, progression football, I just feel like they'll suffocate Dortmund. And, Real Madrid is going to take that one breakthrough, maybe one mistake, and, Real Madrid will be right back in it. And you see with Real Madrid, they're good at, taking advantage of mistakes, smelling blood, even when they're down, not being out. The experience in that team and just the culture of them, they've been brilliant in these sort of comebacks. That's just what they are. So I'm trying to see this from any sort of perspective where I can see Borussia Dortmund pull an upset, and I don't see it happening. I think when it comes to this game, for Borussia Dortmund, if you have to look at their keys, number one, Emre Can, who's not really the most athletic player out there, still him being in that position right in front of the center backs, that traditional number 6, he has to be key in number one, playing out with the pressure, getting the ball off the back line, easing the pressure, because Real Madrid will not be afraid to press high in certain moments. And he will be key in protecting Hummels and Schlotterbeck and sensing danger of Rodrigo and Vinicius making those runs, covering any sort of space that could be in danger. He's going to be very, very important. If Borussia Dortmund are going to win this game, Emre Can has to be key for them, and also Nicholas Füllkrug. And two things that he needs to succeed in if they want to win. Number one, in that PSG game, he was able to score a goal in that first leg, but there was multiple opportunities that he missed that he could have easily slotted into back into the net. He has to be consistent with all his opportunities. He might not get much, and every opportunity he gets, he has to be clinical. Number one, he has to be clinical. Number two, if Borussia Dortmund want to retain any sort of possession and actually, go end to end, his play to get his ability to get his back on the facing the goal, playing with his back to goal, that play has to be on the top notch. He has to be able to get the ball and for it to stick, and for him to allow guys to run in behind some of the pacier players that they got, like an Adeyemi, a Sancho, or Malin potentially. He needs to, be that engine for them with his back to goal play. He and in terms of not just receiving the ball but controlling it and being able to find them, his ability to be kind of an extra midfielder is going to be very, very important with how low Borussia Dortmund will get sucked in at times. He's going to be the main outlet a lot of situations, and his back to goal has to be impeccable if Borussia Dortmund want to win this game. Now, Real Madrid, it's a sense, for them to make sure there is no slip up, they got to make sure, everybody knows Real Madrid is favorites. But in some ways, they can't know that. I think what's made Real Madrid strong over the past couple of years is, despite the fact that they're facing teams, that might be just better than them in general, of the way that they play and stuff, or the players that they have, Real Madrid have used that underdog mentality to rise up above them and to get past them in these clutch moments. When you look at the Chelsea game 2 years ago, in that where they had the Rodrigo moment to push it to extra time, and then the Modric ball to Rodrigo, that the Man City game that year, scoring 2 goals at the end of at the last minute of the second leg to push that to extra time. In this season against Man City, I think being the underdog has kind of helped them in there, just in terms of mentality. But obviously this team has so much experience and so much, and even if when they're playing in ties that they're better than, you don't see a slip up, you don't see a lack of concentration, a lack of focus, because of the experience in this team with the Modric, a Kroos. They're not gonna allow that to happen. So I think Borussia Dortmund will really be up against it here. Now it's one game, and this time last week I was saying the same thing about Man City United, where I was saying I can't see any way United win it against City. Well, United were able to be clinical on a counter, and City just had a horrible day. And the problem that I just don't see this happening again is City having a horrible day. There's a difference in DNA between City and Real Madrid. I don't think Real Madrid, I don't think it's just possible for Real Madrid to have a horrible day in a Champions League final. Not the way that they're, just not with the culture and the footballing tradition of that club. So for me, I think it'll be very, very difficult for Borussia Dortmund to get back this. Now, I've been saving this for a while. I'm going to go with my prediction. My prediction will be Real Madrid, obviously, based on what I'm saying Real Madrid is going to win. That's just obvious. But I'll have to go with Real Madrid 3. No. Real Madrid. This is difficult. I don't know if I'm wanting to give them. I'm going to say Real Madrid 2, Borussia Dortmund 0. Real Madrid 2, Borussia Dortmund 0. 2-0 victory for Real Madrid. They'll lift up the Champions League. That is my prediction.